Hello everyone, my name is Marion with DTM Real Talk Channel. It's the channel that you can tune into, have the ability to listen to the thoughts of others about topics all over the world that touch every one of our lives. Everybody goes through basically the same thing. There is nothing new under the sun. So if you're going through, someone else has already been there. Maybe you can find hope. Maybe it's a pathway that can set you on the right road just by tuning in. So DTM Real Talk, just keeping it real. And if you like it, like us at the bottom, subscribe, and let us know just how we helped you. Just keeping it real. Nothing but love.
Hello, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. This is DTM Real Talk, and we're just keeping it real. Welcome back, everyone. If this is your first time chiming in, please like, share, and subscribe. Share the channel with as many of your family and friends as you like, and hopefully something said can be of assistance and help to you. For the past few months, guys, we've been deeply exploring mental health. And just last week, Brian Pierre, he shared some invaluable insight on his journey through mental health struggles and also how his experiences had actually become a source of healing for many. Now, tonight, we're revisiting an important conversation that we had with Tim Brandon on the root of depression. If you don't remember that, you can check it out, but we're revisiting it. As I've emphasized before, understanding the root causes, guys, is essential for true healing. Too often we only address the symptoms in YouTube land. That's what we do. We look at the symptoms, and the reality is staggering. Many of our loved ones, professionals, pastors, teachers are facing mental health challenges, and even some of us. And just a few weeks ago, I'm from New Orleans. I'm here on the West Bank. A few weeks ago, a well-known teacher from our local high school tragically took his own life. And he posted, or someone posted, his farewell letter on Instagram, and it reveals his profound sense of being unheard. That's what I received, the information that I got. This heartbreak reinforces my mission, guys, to share real life stories of individuals who have had endured periods of depression and mental illness, and they're offering us their courageous testimonies because they're bold enough to share it with us. A lot of times parents may not often recognize the emotional turmoil that they can inflict on their children through traumatic events during their childhood. So tonight, Tim is going to discuss specific symptoms to watch out for in your children, drawing from his own experiences of facing harsh criticism from his father, starting at just 2 years old. So, my pastor says every Sunday, we all have issues. No one is exempt from issues. And I want you to know, YouTube land, no one is exempt from mental health challenges. Nobody. So join us as we dive into these powerful stories, seeking to understand, heal, and support each other in our mental health journeys. Here, Tim.
What a lot of people don't know is there's a lot of us that have been going through severe depression. And I was one of those individuals, very severe depression. And I would talk to my oldest daughter, but my oldest daughter, she's not a doctor. She's a wonderful woman.
Right.
I was just, putting all that on her, trying to unburden myself.
Yes.
And so but she's been great. Sometimes I could tell when her patience,
Right.
get a little short, but she's trying to be a good daughter. She's been a good daughter, and so, but it takes you down a journey where you realize, and I came to that realization over, I would say, the past couple of months, that you have to go back to the beginning of where it started. You cannot seek healing unless you get to the root of the problem.
Yes.
And so because I know my story, I was able to identify it, and it was hard. And especially when it has to deal with, family members.
Sure.
And so, and we recognize that you have all kind of trauma. My trauma was not sexual.
Right.
It was just a relationship between a father and a son, and realizing now that my father didn't have a clue. He
Exactly.
didn't know what it meant to be a father.
Yes.
And so thinking of that journey and going back to where the trauma started, it took me back to when I was 2 years old.
Wow.
Can you imagine that?
Yes, I can imagine that. And I'm not just saying I can imagine that. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's and that's strange, because when you think back, you love your parents, you have unconditional love for them, but then at the same time, you're 2 years old. How much do you know? You
Right.
don't know nothing.
Right.
And so my story began when I was 2. I don't remember anything before I was 2, but I remember that. I remember when I broke my shoulder, my in my little red wagon. I have a very strong memory of that,
Wow.
because that was trauma.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Dislocated. So I remember that. And so it was the same thing with my father. He was in the army. He was in the army.
Okay.
It's me and my sister, and he came home.
Okay.
So I was 2 years old, and I remember it very vividly. I see this man. He has on a uniform. His khaki army uniform with his hat, and all I remember on seeing him is he just started barking something at me.
Wait. Started what?
Barking, like giving me like military orders.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, stand at attention. Blah, 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 blah. Now, understand, I'm 2.
Yes.
And so I remember.
That's traumatic.
Right. I remember, and I'm like, I didn't know him. I didn't know who he was. And so I broke. I remember that as clear as day. The house was full of, my mom, my aunts and uncles, because my dad was, coming home. Now,
Right.
when I think back, I'm like, okay. And I'm running, and I realized, well, later, that this is funny to them. I'm his firstborn. I'm his son. And this is the first time.
You have any other siblings?
Yeah.
Than your sister?
Yeah, my older sister, there were 6 of us. My father had other kids,
right.
Prior, when he was a teenager. But in our household with my mom, there were 6 of us.
Gotcha.
But at that time, there was just me and my older sister.
Gotcha.
So I'm running. I ran upstairs, and I think it was, that was kind of funny, because I was really trying to get away, because I didn't know who this man was. And I remember getting under my grandmother's bed, and they're trying to pull me out from under the bed, and they can't get me out. Now, I think I know I was, double chunkified back then. I was a fluffy little boy. And, so I'm under there, and I put my hands under the slats that's holding up the box spring and the mattress. Oh, wow. I remember that. I'm crying. I'm horrified. This man is trying to get me, and nobody is trying to protect me at all. And then the next thing I know is the mattress is coming off and the box spring is coming off. And now I'm exposed to this stranger, and they grab me, and I'm horrified. And so now I was able to identify where the emotional destabilization started. That's when it started. Wow. Prior to that, no memory other than when I got hurt. Everything seemed normal. I'm with my mom, my sister, my grandparents, my aunt and uncles. I'm 2 years old, and I'm just living the life of a toddler. Right. And then this happens. And so now thinking back, I realized that I became emotionally unstable.
Yes.
Because I literally, due to fear
Right.
of seeing this individual. You see, and I think, most folk can make that connection.
Yes.
Now, the problem is my father, obviously he's a young father. He didn't have a clue.
Right.
He did not have a clue. So now here I am, a baby. I'm in the household with a man that I don't know, married to my mom. And now I'm in that house.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid of this person.
Right.
What options do I have?
Did he ever try, if you can remember, was there ever a communication, a bridge of communication with you all after that? After you got a little older, was there ever?
No, not to deal with the
trauma.
Not to deal with the trauma.
Right.
So you accept the fact as a little kid. Now you're time is going on. You're getting older, but you're still in the house with this person who now you are literally horrified of. It's literally like living with the enemy.
Wow.
You love your mom.
I remember you told me something about maybe you used to suck your thumb or something like that. Talk about that to the good folks.
So that part of it is actually, that's normal. From, a little baby, sucking a bottle, 1 year old, sucking your thumb.
Talk about how he responded to you, then.
And then so you go up. So now he's saying, okay, you old enough. Maybe about 3 years old, I was potty trained. I knew how to go to the bathroom.
Sure.
But I sucked my thumb. So his response to trying to get me to stop sucking my thumb is he would sneak, on this, and I'm watching cartoons, the Flintstones or something, and he would sneak up behind me and he would do this, bam, really hard. And knock my thumb out my mouth, and immediately I start crying.
Wow.
Now,
so that was another traumatizing event.
Right. Exactly. So now I'm crying, and because I'm crying because he just hurt me, now I get a whipping on top of it. Blah, 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 blah. And that's how it was. Did he think he was wrong? No. He didn't think it was wrong. And that went on. And that was the pattern as I grew up. So there was nothing that he did to alleviate the fear and the trauma that I had in regards to him thinking he's doing the right thing and raising me. So now my siblings are coming along. They had my mom and dad had twins, and then they had 2 more kids. And of course, I'm the older boy, and I'm getting older. But guess what? I'm still sucking my thumb. My siblings have been weaned. They've been weaned. They're normal. They're not sucking their thumbs. But now, when I would go to bed, I'm sucking my thumb, and I would rock. You might have seen me rock at church. And it's an inadvertent, response to whatever somebody is saying. I would rock, and I would do that to go to sleep while I'm sucking my thumb.
Right.
And that's the only time that I found any peace. So me sucking my thumb became, it was like, who is that? Linus in the blanket.
Right. I was about to say it's a measure of security.
Yeah, that was my security to deal with the trauma. No, even still knowing that my father is going to do something to me to hurt me because I would do that. So while he's thinking he's breaking me with all the hard things that he was doing to me, he couldn't break me. So now I'm 10 years old. I'm still sucking my thumb, teeth getting pushed up, and got the buck teeth because of sucking my thumb, going through the same stuff.
Right.
And and it didn't change. So when I say that this continued on to where I'm a young teenager now, and I'm still sucking my thumb. They never dealt with the emotional trauma that that he caused. So at 15, I don't know if you know the story. We were in LA and I got shot.
No, I
Trauma.
don't know the story, and the good folks don't know the story. So
Yeah, oh, okay. I thought I might have told you that. Yeah, I
no,
got
you
shot
didn't.
being in the mean, not in the streets. I was the good kid who became the victim of gang violence. And I got hit three times. My best friend got hit.
Wow.
And my brother, he escaped. We survived, but it broke my arm. It ruptured the artery. So at that point, I was done with LA. I was
Wow.
like, that's it. I do not want to live here. And that's how basically 8 months or 9 months after that happening, they thought it would be good if I took a 2-week vacation. And I ended up in Charleston, South Carolina.
Mm.
And so when I got out there and I was in the country in Mount Pleasant, I fell in love with the place. So when it was time for me to come back, I refused to come back. I said that no. Now I'm 16 years old, and I'm like, no, I'm not going back to LA. And the good people out there that I went out to visit, they knew what happened to me. They saw the horrible scar on my arm from the operation, and they begged my father to leave me alone, to let me stay. And so I ended up with the family, the good Reverend Evans, and he took me in. He treated me like a son.
Wow.
Where he would introduce me, he talked Geechee. I don't know if you know that. The red Tom, yeah, great. And when he would take me around, now I'm 16 years old, he would take me around and he would introduce me, and the folk out there, they would say, hey, Reverend, who's this? He said, this my son.
Yes.
And that's just how he introduced me. I always thought it was funny, but I felt loved.
Yes.
And so now I'm grown.
Right.
I'm a grown man. Well, but guess what? I was still suffering from the emotional trauma that happened when I was 2. So I was coming back and thinking, okay, I made it. And my father had a problem with all of that.
Wow.
He had a problem with it. I overheard arguments with him and my mom because they knew I wanted to come back. And so, of course, he would do.
So let me ask you something. Were you, when you left to come back, were you even thinking or feeling the fear that you had when you left? Were you afraid of that?
No, because at this point, there was a great deal of healing.
Okay.
That took place because of Reverend Evans.
Gotcha.
Because he became my father figure.
Gotcha. So did you know at that time that you had trauma that was causing you to feel what you feel?
No,
you know it at that time.
No, you don't identify it. You just, because it's just an experience that you went through, but you're in this like,
you didn't know what was caused.
Right. Yeah, because this is just what you're feeling. But now something very positive has happened. You're grown, you're married, you have a child, you have a great job. So now you're thinking that, okay, my father is going to accept me.
Right.
And that wasn't the case. So and so when I was trying to get the job, trying to transfer, and I had to give, of course, a recommendation. Me and my father, we talked,
right,
normally, and he knew what I was trying to do. And then he said, well, how many hours do you work a week? Will you be working a week? I said, well, we work 3 days a week. And he immediately scoffed at that. We work 3 days a week, about 6 or 7 hours a day, but we make $350 to $400 a day. And he looked me right in my face and said, "You're a liar." He called me a liar.
Wow.
And again, going back to that, but now I'm laughing.
Right,
Because
you're grown. You're grown now. You're grown.
Yeah, I'm grown, and I have been working on the waterfront for this company since I was 15.
Right. Okay.
Now I'm a grown man. I'm 20 years old. This is 5 years after the fact, and now I'm back home in LA. And this is what you say. So I go to work. You work that first week, they hold that money in the hole.
Right.
And then you work the second week, and then you get your first week's pay. And so I remember my first week's pay was like, my gross was like close to $900 for 3 days.
Yes.
And I think I took home, my take-home pay was like $575.
Wow.
You got to understand, this was in 1980.
Yes, I feel you.
So that was like, so I got that first paycheck. I'm pumped, I'm stoked, and I'm gonna show my dad, because I remember, I remember.
Tim, you got the good folks on the end of your seat, and you got me there too, but we're gonna stop right here, because we're gonna hear how you dealt with the reality of, as two, I'm fearful is I don't know what, by the way this man that's supposed to be loving me is responding to me. Yeah. Now I'm a grown man, how the same attitude he had when I was 2, he has now, but I'm feeling a little bit different. So next week, we want to hear how he has come face to face with his father. This is DTM Real Talk, and we're just doing what? Keeping it
real.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll see you next week. Thanks for watching DTM Real Talk. Be sure to join us for more conversation. And oh yeah, don't forget to hit that like button, share, and subscribe while you're there.